One click is all it takes to lose everything.
We are in a cyber war. You can either be a defendant or you can be a victim.
Where is the crypto? That's the question that never gets asked when there's a breach. Where is the crypto and how did the attacker defeat it? You look at all these cases, all these recent breaches that are out there, and essentially what happened is an attacker accessed a server from the internet, exploited a missing patch, broke into the server, and was able to directly access the data. Now, yes, the first couple of questions you should be asking is, why was a server visible from the internet not patched? And why was a server visible from the internet containing critical data? And those are the questions that most people focus on and the media focuses on. And I agree with that. Any system accessible from the internet must be patched and never contain critical data. But here's the question that nobody asked. These banks, these e-commerce companies, these large organizations are all utilizing cryptography to protect their critical data. So even if the data was visible from the internet, even if the system was unpatched, they should have only got encrypted data, and they should not have been able to decrypt it or break it because it's robust, strong encryption. So crypto should have been that additional mechanism that secured and protect our information. But the question is, how in the world did these adversaries break in, steal the data, and break the crypto so quickly? The answer is they didn't have to. The answer is companies are violating a simple, basic rule of cryptography, which is protecting and securing the keys. They are storing the keys on the server that contains the encrypted data. Now let me show you how crazy this is. I travel around the world. In the US, when you go into a hotel room, the lights turn on, the air conditioner turns on, right? In the US, we don't care about the environment. You can leave your lights on all day, who cares, right? But when you go overseas, when you go to England or Australia or other cases, you have to actually take your room key and put it in a lock, and then the air conditioning and the lights will turn on. And then when you leave the room and take your key with you, the lights and air conditioning shut off. It's an environmental control to limit the use of resources. Well, guess what? Because I'm not used to that, I go to these hotels, I put my key in, and I always leave and I always lock my key in the room. I'm always losing my key and forgetting my key. So I have a brilliant idea. Now, by the way, when I say brilliant like this, it's excessive sarcasm. So here's my brilliant idea. I'm going to tape the key to the outside of the door. So now every time I come back, I can take the key, open my door, and tape it back to the outside of the door. Then I go change, I go hit the gym a little bit, right? I always got to pump it up, and I come back, and the key's there. Isn't that great? Now you're probably laughing, because like, wait a second, Eric. If the key is taped to the outside of the door, it sort of defeats the purpose. Because now anybody coming to the door can get the key, open it, and it defeats the whole idea of having a lock. Now your laughter is going to turn to tears, because do you realize that's what most organizations do? Most organizations store the key with the encrypted data. That's the reason why when attackers break into a server, they can access the data immediately, because the key is stored with the data. I just worked on a case where the key was stored on the server and written to the log file 55,000 times in a 24-hour period. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to find and access the key when we're doing those blatant mistakes. So this is the part that's frustrating, is these companies are utilizing all the security technology incorrectly. Yes, you might think, oh, the bank and the e-commerce site are protecting my data with encryption, but they're really not if the key is stored with the data. Now, here's the irony of it. Properly implementing crypto is not that hard. You basically do two things. One, the key is always stored on a separate server, and the key never leaves the server. All we have to do is mimic what we do in the real world. When I walk up to the counter at a hotel and I check in, they give me a key. That key never leaves my possession. That key is always in my wallet, and when I go up to the door, I unlock the door and it goes back in. If you just call me a key server, that's how we solve crypto. The key is always stored on a separate server, and the key never leaves that server. So now when you send encrypted data to the server, it goes to the key server, it decrypts it and sends the data back. That's how you win with crypto. A perfect example of this is Heartbleed. If you read about Heartbleed a few years ago, that was basically an attack against OpenSSL. Now everyone sat there and said, oh, this is an issue with OpenSSL, this was an issue with patching it, and I completely disagree. It was an issue with key management. Basically what Heartbleed did is it allowed somebody to dump memory of the server, and because so many companies incorrectly store the private key in memory, they were able to access the private key. Now I will tell you firsthand, I had many of our clients who have our secure anchor crypto design where the keys are on a separate server and never leave the server. Heartbleed had zero impact because guess what? There was nothing in memory on the server. So if the keys weren't stored on the server, Heartbleed would never been able to read them and never able to access them. So to me, yes, Heartbleed should have been patched, it should have been up to date, but if you properly implemented your cryptographic keys, it would have had zero impact on your server. So I just want to let you know this video is an $80,000 video. We have clients that pay us $80,000 to build and redesign their entire cryptographic architecture for e-commerce and online banking, and the whole fundamental concepts behind it is always storing your keys on a separate key server and never let the keys leave that server. If you want to be the elite, if you want to be in the winning team and you want to make sure your client's data is protected and you're implementing proper security, always go in and check all your cryptographic solutions and make sure the keys are never stored with the data. The keys must always be on a separate key server and never leave the key server. And if we start doing things correctly and following some basic principles, we can make cyberspace a safe place to live, work, and raise a family.